Debian 11 Bullseye is just released. You may wonder what the new features of the new release are. And you may want to install the latest version and check it yourself. So, let's have a look at new features and then installing the Debian 11 Bullseye. Debian 11 Bullseye New Features. 1. New theme. The first thing you will notice is the theme. From the boot menu to wallpapers and desktop, you can see the new theme, which is called Homeworld. 2. Desktops and well-known packages. Debian again ships with several desktop applications and environments. Among others, it now includes the desktop environments GNOME 3.38, KDE Plasma 5.20, LXDE 11, LXQt 0.16, Mate 1.24, and Xfce 4.16. Productivity applications have also been upgraded, including the Office suites. LibreOffice is upgraded to version 7.0. Calligra is upgraded to 3.2. GNU Cache is upgraded to 4.4. Among many others, this release also includes the following software updates. Three. Kernel support for exFAT. Bullseye is the first release providing a Linux kernel that has support for the exFAT file system and defaults to using it for mounting exFAT file systems. Consequently, it's no longer required to use the file system in user-space implementation provided via the exFAT Fuse package. If you would like to continue to use the file system in user-space implementation, you need to invoke the Mount exFAT Fuse helper directly when mounting an exFAT file system. Four. Latest kernel. Debian 11 comes with kernel version 5.10. 5. Improved man page translations. The manual pages for several projects such as Systemd, Util Linux, OpenSSH, and Mutt in several languages, including French, Spanish, and Macedonian, have been substantially improved. To benefit from this, you can install manpages XX, where XX is the code for your preferred natural language. Also, it contains many more features as follows: supported architectures. The following are the officially supported architectures for Debian 11, 32-bit PC, i386, and 64-bit PC, AMD 64, 64-bit ARM, ARM 64, ARM EB, ARML, ARMv7, EB Hardfloat ABI, ARMHF, Little Endian MIPS, MIPSL, 64-bit Little Endian MIPS, MIPS 64L, 64-bit Little Endian Power PC, PPC 64L, IBM System Z, S390X. CUPS and driverless printing, SANE and driverless scanning, new generic open command, control groups v2, persistent system journal, new Fcitx 5 input method. It's time to download the ISO and install the OS. You can download the ISO from the www.debian.org website. The default ISO for download is Debian 11 AMD 64 netinst.iso, which is about a 400 megabytes file. This ISO does not contain all the packages for installation but the base OS to run and download necessary packages through the internet. You can use the Getting Debian link for other ISO files. Then click on the Download CD/DVD images using HTTP. Then click on the official CD/DVD images of the stable release link. You can find AMD 64, ARM 64, ARML, ARMHF, i386, MIPS 64L, MIPSL, PPC 64L, S390X architecture ISO files created for CD or DVD. I am downloading the DVD version. AMD 64 is the most used architecture for the latest devices. The ISO will be around 4 GB of the size. You can see the great documentation on installing Debian and related things. Once you download the ISO image, you can create a bootable DVD or bootable pen drive using that ISO image. Then boot your PC using the created bootable media. You can see the OS installation interface. Select the graphical install. Then you can select the language, location, and keyboard. I am selecting the default values given. In the next step, you can give a hostname for the system. Now you can enter the root password. In this window, you can enter the user details for the non-administrative activities. First, enter the full name of the user. Then you can enter the username for the user. And finally the password. The next step is selecting your time zone. Now you can configure the disk partitions. You can select from the given methods to continue. I am selecting the manual method. In here first, you need to set up logical volumes with the desired size, and then you can assign these logical volumes to mount points. I always recommend partitioning with LVM. You can see the size of the hard disk drive in the partition disks window. Now I am selecting the listed hard disk I have allocated for the Debian OS and click the Continue button. It will show you a warning saying the current partition will be removed. Since I want to create a new partition table, I'll select the Yes option and click the Continue button. Now you can see the new empty partition table under your hard disk. First, I can configure the LVM using Logical Volume Manager. It will ask for the permissions to write current changes and configure LVM. You can see the summary of the current LVM configuration. Display configurations details show nothing since I have not configured LVM yet. Click on Create a Volume Group and enter the name for your volume group. Click the Continue button. It shows the currently connected devices on your PC. Select the disk and click the Continue button. It will ask for permission to write changes to the disk. Now you can see the partition summary I created. Display configuration details show the details of the PVs, VGs that I created. Let's create the logical volumes. You can see the created logical volume group name. Under this VG I am creating the logical volumes. The first one is the boot partition. I am going to give 1 GB for the boot partition, which is more than enough for the boot. Next, I am creating the root partition with 10 GB of the size and swap partition with 4 GB and the rest of the space for the var partition. Now the partition structure is completed. Now I am going to assign mount points to created partitions. I am going to format the boot partition as an ext2 file system since we do not need journaling support for the boot partition. And mount point assigned to boot. Similarly, I am assigning root for the root partition and swap space for the swap partition and var for the var partition I created. Finally, you can finish partitioning and write changes to the disk. It may take some time to finish this step. Now it asks you to scan for additional media for the package manager. I am going to skip this step since I do not have any DVDs or CDs which can use for installing additional packages. You can also use a network mirror, which contains additional packages that can install through the internet. I am not going to join the survey now. From software selection windows, you can select the desired predefined software collection from the list. You can see GNOME, Xfce, KDE, Mate, and several desktop environments can be installed from here. I'll want to select the SSH server additionally. It may take some time to complete the installation of the software. In this step, you can install the GRUB Bootloader. If you know how to configure the GRUB manually, you can skip this step. But it is always a good idea if you install it in this step. It will show you the device which can install the GRUB Bootloader. And I am selecting the listed default device. Now installation is completed. I have to restart the PC to continue. This is the login screen of Debian 11. The gear icon shows the available desktop environments. Welcome to Debian 11 GNOME Desktop. You can go through the installed apps and the environment. The Debian OS can be used as a production server without any issues as web, database, DNS, proxy, mail servers, and more. Unless you are not familiar with the terminal and commands, no need of using the GUI. Even you are not familiar with that stuff, you must get familiar with them to manage easily Linux servers. That's all for the video. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.